Hey there, HK. Alright, so as promised, we're going to be going over my DDD deck profile. So I'm going to try and motor around through this. So first I got 2 copies of DDD Burfomet, followed by 2 copies of Savant Galeli. Galeli is not quite as good. It can be really helpful to bounce cards back to your hand, but a lot of times you're going to want to keep your cards in the field, possibly with the exception of Caliper. Caliper is really great to normal summon or special summon because you get to go ahead and get a dark contract, but it's also really helpful because it's a pendulum rank of 10, so you can get your pendulum summon on with some of your bigger guys using him. Next we got 3 copies of DD Swirl Slime, 2 copies of DD Necro Slime. These are going to set up a lot of your fusion plays. Necro Slime out of the graveyard and Swirl Slime out of the hand. Swirl Slime is also great because you can banish it from the graveyard to special summon, some of your other bigger guys like your Leonidas or your Ragnarok. Leonidas we're going to run at 3. This is just an absolute boss for the deck because he can negate the effect damage and he can special summon himself out of the hand, so he's really easy to put on the board. Ragnarok sets up so many combo plays. This is like a lot of times you're going to end up searching Ragnarok instead of mid and late game using your 3 copies of Dark Contract Gate. Dark Contract the Gate, every turn you get to search. Yes, all the Dark Contracts will burn you for 1,000, but the deck has multiple ways of dealing with that, so it's not really a problem. 1 copy of Dark Contract with Swamp King. I'd probably run a 2nd copy of this in the side deck, but 1 is pretty good for the main because you really don't need much more than this to stay consistent. 2 copies of Dark Contract, which I like running 2 copies, but this is definitely a card that you could easily drop down to 1 and still probably be okay with, but I like having 2 copies because it can give you that extra discard power to get your Necro Slimes or your combo pieces into the graveyard to special summon. It can also be really nice to have that spot destruction because it can pop cards in the field, by discarding. So that's great. 2 copies of Dark Contract with Errors. This card is absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be talking about it in a second here with a couple other cards. But it's a Royal Decree that you can turn on and turn off at your leisure, and that's just absolutely amazing. 1 copy of Allure of Darkness. This is actually a card that if you have other tech that you want to run, this would be one of the cards that I would opt to take out probably after 1 copy of Contract with the Witch. 1 copy of Raigeki because let's face it, it's Raigeki. 2 copies of Transmodify. Transmodify is an amazing combo card. What you can really easily do, the combo that I most like to do with this is I will fuse for my King to Arc, which is a 7-star fiend. Then I will activate Transmodify. Transmodify will let me summon a level 8 fiend, which I will special summon a Ragnarok. Ragnarok's effect will activate to special summon a DD out of my graveyard, in which case I'll just bring back the Dark, and I've got 2 big boss monsters. 1 copy of 1 for 1. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness. 1 copy of Skill Drain. Alright, so these 2 cards, both of them combo extremely well with your Dark Contract of Errors. The ability to, on your turn, turn off Skill Drain and Vanity's Emptiness at the same time. You can do all your special summoning, you can get all your effects, and then on their turn, you don't turn on the Contract with Errors, and the Skill Drain and the Vanity's Emptiness activate, and they can't special summon. Their monsters don't have effects. They're left with very little to do, and if you want to leave the skill drain on them when it comes back around to your turn, you're usually fine because your monsters have extremely high attacks, and you've already brought them out, so that's a lot of fun. Whoop. One copy of Call the Haunted. This is really just to help set up those Ragnarok plays. One copy of Bottomless Chapel. 2 copies of Max C. I think Max C is really good this format. And then finally 2 copies of Chicken Game, because Chicken Game, it does give us that little bit of extra draw power. And what it really is nice for is if your life points are lower than your opponent's, then you can't take any effect damage. So if you activate Chicken Game and you pay 1,000 and draw a card, a lot of people will forget that they can use your Chicken Game too. They won't activate it, and it'll come around your standby phase, and you'll just gotten a +1, and then you won't burn for all that damage, and you won't have taken any damage during your battle phase because your life points would have already been lower. So it's just a lot of people underestimate Chicken Game, and this is just a deck where it really utilizes Chicken Game well. All right, into the extra deck. I got 1 copy of King Kali Yuga. Not too hard to bring out, but it's a game ender kind of card. He is a heavy storm on your turn or your opponent's turn, so that's absolutely wonderful. And he does like the skill draining effect just to negate all the other effects on the board. Can be really good, but it also kind of hinders you a little bit, so make sure that's the last thing you want to go for before you go to OTK. 3 copies of King to Arc. This is the guy you're going to summon every single game. He's like the MVP of the deck. You always want to gain life points and he just sets up all your other plays, so he's your best fusion. 2 copies of Caesar Ragnarok. Now you could easily drop this down to 1 copy of Caesar Ragnarok for more utility and space in the extra deck. But what's really great about him is he has a non-targeting effect that lets you steal your opponent's monsters, which is a really wonderful way to get around Magic Spectre effects. Like he can actually take raccoons and screw them over, or take the Cosmo monsters, take a Dark Destroyer, whatever. You got 1 copy of DDD Marksman King Tell. He's kind of weird. I honestly haven't really played with him a whole lot. Once per turn, during either player's turn, if you took any effect damage this turn, you can detach 1 Extinguisher Shield from this card and then target 1 face-up monster on the field. It loses 1,000 attack and defense, and if it does inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can send 1 DD or Dark Contract card from your deck to the graveyard. So, it is kind of fun to be able to help set up your graveyard for combo plays, but you just honestly don't go into him all that much. 1 copy of Wave King Caesar. Now, Wave King Caesar you will occasionally play, and if you play Wave King Caesar, he does easily rank up into William or Marksman King Tell, but you usually want to wait until after Caesar's used his effect. So, if you detach a card from Wave King Caesar, and any DD monsters are destroyed during your battle phase that turn, they'll come back at the end of the battle phase. So this can be really nice for, if your opponent declares an attack, you detach, all those DD monsters that they destroy are going to come back to your end phase, so you're going to have monsters to play. Or, if you are thinking, hey, I think that's a Mirror Force face down, you detach 1, you go, oh, they wipe out my board, I have my battle phase, all my monsters come back. And when they come back, he won't have any Xyz materials, then it's a really good time to, go into Marksman King Tell, so then you can start setting up your plays for later. but that's about the only time that I think that's really useful. That's just me. Anyway, one copy of number 11 Big Eye, because rank 7s are not hard to do at all in this deck, considering Leonidas is a 7, and the King D'Arc is a 7. Also, the Baphomet can become a 7, or it can turn any other DD into a 7. So, yeah, not hard at all to get into a rank 7 here. For the same reason we got Draco Sack, the MVPs. One copy of Flare Metal Dragon. Flare Metal Dragon's just awesome because you can usually do, somewhere around 7,600 points of damage to your opponent, and then just kind of overlay into Flare Metal and laugh at them because if they play any effect, they lose. If they activate a card, they lose. So that's fun. One copy of Castell because it's Castell. One copy of 101 because it's 101. One copy of Heretic's Guy Dragon. Yeah, him. Anyway, non-targeting effect for destruction. Good way to discard cards from my hand to set up my plays. Yeah. And then one copy of number 107. This is just kind of more tech for me personally, although Felgrand is also a very, very, very good choice, and I might switch back to Felgrand, but just for now I've been playing with 107 because it can mess up some of the combo based decks in the meta. Alright, so for this combo, I'm going to have one DD Swirl Slime, which we run at 3. I'm going to have one copy of Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok, which we run at 3. I'm going to have one copy of Leonidas, which we run at 3. So, obviously it's not hard to get in these 3 cards together. I'm also going to say that I've got one copy of Dark Contract with the Gate at this point in the duel. Maybe it's a turn or 2 in, whatever. Doesn't matter. This is the setup. So I'm going to start off by using my Dark Contract, the Gates effect, and that's going to let me get a second copy of my Abyss Ragnarok. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to activate my Ragnarok. In the Pendulum Zone. Now I'm going to use the effect of the DD Swirl Slime, so I can send it to the graveyard along with this Leonidas. And that's going to let me special summon my D'Arc. Now Ragnarok's effect is going to activate because I special summoned a DDD, so now I can special summon a monster from my graveyard. Now I've got 2 level 7s on my side of the field, so I'm going to go ahead and overlay. And, it's at this point it gets to be very optional what you want to go with, but I'm going to say that I'm going to go with We'll go with flare metal. Actually, you know what, let's go with, just for the sake of being able to do this fast, we're gonna say, I'll just overlay on top of it. I'm just showing combos on the video for Hell's Kitchen. It's all good. Let's say we get the Draco Sack. Now I want to detach one monster for Draco Sack's effect. I'd probably go with the Arc. And it's gonna let me get my tokens here. Use the effect. Pop. Alright. Now I'm going to go back into my graveyard, and I got that Necro Slime still in there, so now I can banish that Necro Slime, or excuse me, Swirl Slime. Swirl Slime. That's going to let me special summon this other Ragnarok out of my hand. That Ragnarok's effect will activate, which will let me special summon Dark. Huzzah for 3-card combos. This time I've got my Swirl Slime, my Necro Slime, and my Kelper. So I'm going to start things off by ditching my Swirl Slime and my Necro Slime to the graveyard. This is going to let me get my Dark. Now I'm going to go ahead and banish my Swirl Slime. In order to special summon my Kelper, I get Kelper's effect. Let me get my contract with King of the Swamp. Activate contract. I will sync fuse my Dark and my Kelper. And actually that's a mistake, the Kelper would actually go to the extra. So this is going to give me a second Dark. And now I can banish Necro Slime and Dark. For a second one.